Kansas City Chiefs are set up perfectly for another Super Bowl run, and we're going to talk about that.
You're listening to All Chiefed Up.
Chiefs Kingdom ACU crew, welcome in. How we doing on this fine Memorial Day? Happy Memorial Day. And I'd like to take a second just to say everyone should thank all the military members and think about all the ones that gave everything they had for us to do stuff just like this. Get on here and talk about Kansas City Chiefs football at random times of the day. Because without that, we wouldn't be able to do that. So let's think about that and honor them today while you're eating your delicious cheeseburger or your hot dog. Let's do that. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing great.
Cheeseburger or a hot dog today.
Well, you better work on it. You better work on that.
I had to make some kind of spaghetti concoction. And then
I may do terrible, brother.
And then I may eat some kind of I may go to a Wingstop, get some wings or something. I don't know. I can't grill out. My grill got damaged.
Hey, you can grill on anything. Just put it together.
You can find a sewer grate grill on that bad boy.
But yeah, I appreciate you guys being here. It's a holiday. I know a lot of you guys are probably wanting to hang out with your families, or whatever, and that's fine. But I figured some of you guys might want to hang out and talk Chiefs football, and that's cool too. Appreciate you being here. Click that like button for us. Help us get out to more people and all that good stuff. But yeah, man, the Chiefs are set up perfectly to win another Super Bowl, or get to another Super Bowl, I should say, another Super Bowl run. And it all starts this week, Mike. Like the roster is set. Now OTAs are kicking off tomorrow. They have organized team activities for those of you that don't know what OTAs stand for. But they get to get out there and actually do some organized team stuff. Usually what that means is it's completely voluntary, right? So you don't have to be there, but it's voluntary for players. There are some restrictions on it. They can do 7-on-7 drills, 9-on-7 drills, 11-on-11, but live contact is not permitted during OTAs. Usually they take place at this time of year, late May, early June, and it's limited to just 10 days. But what it is it's for the team to get a footing on everything and for these new guys to get acclimated into the NFL, get an idea of what it's going to be like, and start learning that playbook more or less for the Andy Reid's teams, right? Because that's a daunting task, so it's a good thing to get ahead of it. So OTAs is great, man. It's almost like the beginning of the season, right? It's kind of like the real beginning of the season. You have your roster set. Guys are going to start doing organized team stuff. Mike, with the Chiefs being set up as good as they are with the roster, what do they need to get right? Or what needs to fall into place in the offseason here in OTAs and camp and everything else for them to have the best chance to get back to the Super Bowl this year?
I think they just have to get the new guys integrated in as much as they can. I think they need the offseason acquisitions to be able to get out there, learn the playbook a little at a time. I'm sure they've already been, nose deep in it throughout this entire process, but this is a chance to get out there with your other teammates. Some of these guys might be the first time they're even meeting some of their other teammates. You got to get out there. You got to build this. You got to build your bond. You got to build your chemistry. And again, these are voluntary for 2-3 weeks here. They're going to go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for a couple weeks. And then there's going to be the actual June 17th through 19th. That will be veteran minicamp. That is mandatory. So here in about a few weeks, I don't want to try to put a date on it because I'm bad with it, but I think it's 17th through 19th, so you're looking at about 3 weeks. All this will come together. So, Steve, I just want to see young players get acclimated. I want to see veterans get in and start getting back comfortable, getting back in shape, getting the playbook down. I want to see Andy be able to see what he has with his own eyes. It's easy to look at teams on paper. We've done this time and time again. You look at it on paper, it doesn't necessarily translate. You'll realize, hey, we're still missing something I wanted on offense. We're still missing something I was wanting on defense, if it's Spags or whatever. So you may see some adjustments. You may see some players rotating in and out and doing different things. And then you're always going to have these players that come in and do amazing and everybody fawns all over them, then they don't even make the roster. This happens every year. It's just a process, man. And I think we all have to stick to the process and just adapt to it. Don't overreact either way, good or bad.
Right. Well, I think in, a lot less words, what needs to happen before the season kicks off is I think we need to we need to know who this left tackle is going to be, right?
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Is it going to be Jalen Moore or is it going to be Josh Simmons? And I have a feeling that if Josh Simmons is healthy and can compete for that position, that he damn well could win it. He could be out there week 1 for all we know. A lot of people think he's going to sit out his entire first year, give him time to get back into game shape, blah, 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 recover from the injury. But they seem to think that he's ahead of the game on that he could be ready to go by camp and start competing for that position. So I think that's the main thing, right? We got to have this left tackle. We got the left guard situation figured out. So we got to have that together. And then also something else that's very important that I think the pass rush this year. I think that we have to get more of some pressure on some quarterbacks. We can't give them so much time back there in the pocket to lolly-dolly around and figure out something here and there. I think it's time that we get somebody on the other side of Chris Jones and George Karlaftis that can actually put some pressure on. Because here we've had Mike Dana, who we just gave a contract to. He very rarely shows up when it comes to that. And then you have Charles Omenihu, who had a down year last year. Obviously, he was coming off an injury, so you can give him a little bit of grace there. But it looks like it could be a little bit better this year. I forgot to even mention Felix, and that tells you what you need to know about that, right? But this year you have a couple of other guys that are in on the mix. You got Omar Norman-Lott and Ashton Gelati as far as defensive line that we got as rookies. And then you also got Jerry Tillery that we signed as a free agent. So there are some different faces out there. Do you think that any of those could really make an impact and start putting more pressure on these other teams' quarterbacks?
Right. You also have Fabian Levette, who was there last year as a UDFA, who you could see him do something in the preseason, possibly.
Josiah Izzard. He looks promising.
Got Izzard, too. I think the Chiefs knew that they had to do something there, so they went out and addressed it in the draft, obviously. Norman Lott, the second round, and again, he is not much of a – he's not horrible in my opinion, but he didn't get to do it a lot at Tennessee. But he's not much help in the run game. He is more of a get after the passer. He's more of a, fire off the line. He disrupts quickly. He gets after, he pins his ears back. He gets after the quarterback. Gelati has got that high motor. He's got that closing speed. I think they knew they had to do that. And it's tough to ask rookies to come in and be such a big game changer for you. But I think this is where, if Charles Omenihu thinks he's worth what he thinks he's worth, it's time to go out and prove it. It's put up or shut up time. You got to stay healthy. You got to stay out of trouble. You got to have a good season. And if he does that, he has shown that he does have potential to be a disruptor at times. Mike Dana, he just got a big contract last year. He had a little bit of a down year, but he has shown potential, specifically against the Chargers. That's the only, we pay him to play against them twice a year. So that is the thing. Like Tillery, I don't know if he's going to be a huge impact. He's more of like a rotational guy, in my opinion. He does have all the intangibles. I remember when he came out of the draft from Notre Dame, he had the intangibles to be a big-time disruptor, but it's not really panned out in his career. I do think the Chiefs' defensive line has got better this season, but it's finding a groove. It's getting the young guys into it, and I think a lot of it Spags getting that back end clamped, because as much as shutdown corners and safeties helping over the top can help a pass rush, the same way that a pass rush can help the back end. So I think it definitely works together as a cohesive unit. The back end's got to get a little better to let the front end get a little better, and vice versa.
Right. If there's a soft spot on this defense right now, or somewhere that you think is a little bit weaker than it was last season, where do you think that is?
I think the defensive line's a little better. I think the linebackers will be fine. I think the defense has got better as a whole. If you want to look soft spot, I think Justin Reed losing him is going to be a little bit of something there early. Yeah, that doesn't mean that Hicks isn't going to be a nice playmaker for us. But again, this is going to be his sophomore season. Sometimes you'll hit sophomore slumps. Maybe you get a lot more thrown at you and you're not used to it. So I think safety could be a little bit of a down product for us, but I think that's why they brought in Mike Edwards a little bit, to help shore that up and hopefully get those guys over the hump.
Absolutely. That's exactly where I would have went to. Just losing the experience that Justin Reed has back there and the leadership that he had at that position, I think that's going to be a big thing. So hopefully we can see that pan out pretty good. I mean, we got some good guys back there. Like you said, they brought Mike Edwards back as a veteran presence. We had him a couple of years ago when we won the Super Bowl. A good player. Mahomes even talked about how good he was at practice and stuff. And then also you have Brian Cook, who's really got to bounce back, man. I think he did.
He has to
decent.
have a big season.
He
Steve.
did decent at times last year, but there was a lot of times where he was very, just basically getting cooked. Cook was getting cooked, and he wasn't playing that great. The fan base as a whole, I think, is pretty down on Cook. So I think that he has a lot to prove this year, especially with Justin Reed out of the picture now. But then you got some young guys too, like you mentioned. Jaden Hicks is exciting and fun, and everybody's just super horned up to see him get more snaps. And then I think do you think Chamari Connor steps back into a safety role, or do you think they keep him in like a weird nickel corner thing for, different snaps? Last year, I didn't think he was very good at that.
Right. He gets beat a lot doing that, but at the same time that he's a little out of position there in a way. I think we wanted him to be the new Snead, and I don't know if he's quite the athlete to do it.
Nah.
But I will say I have total confidence in him they'll find something for him. He's a solid player. I'll say that. He's solid. I have complete confidence in Jaden Hicks to be able, and I love Jaden Hicks because he's more of a ball hawk kind of guy back there. We've missed that a lot lately. There's not really been those ball hawk quarter safeties. Mike Edwards was kind of a ball hawk quarter safety even when he was here. But he didn't get to be unleashed fully to his potential. So, I think with the addition of Noel Williams, I think with the addition of getting Trip McDuffie, I think of Trick Green, Trip McDuffie to be sliding down into the nickel position a little more. I don't think you totally take him off the boundary. I think there's specific times that require him to be there. But I think with all the moving pieces now, you're a lot deeper here. So I don't think maybe even Christian Roland Wallace maybe has trouble making the team this year. That sounds wild, but I think he's right there on that cut line.
Well, that's the thing, man. I think Kay Wayne said it best a couple of videos ago. He left a comment. He was just like, this is how you get a better roster. You get more competition in camp. Right. So, I mean, that's the thing. We got more good players at these positions than we had last year. I saw someone in the chat say they were worried about the defensive tackle room. So that's a kind of a fun one to look at, Mike. If I were to tell you at the beginning of the season, like, okay, so your defensive tackles, they could be Turk Wharton, they could be Derek Noddy, Mike Pennell, some of these guys like that. Or you could have Omar Norman Lott, who's unproven, Jerry Tillery, even some of the UDFAs that you mentioned, Fabian Levette, Kozai Izzard, and then you still got Mike Pennell as your run stuffer when you need him. Which one would you want? Which one would you take? Do you think there's like a huge drop-off there?
There's no drop-off because, in my opinion, Derek Noddy never lived up to potential. He couldn't do it. I don't know if his game actually translated to what we all want. We want a guy that goes out there and gets after the quarterback stuff, but there are times, and he is a player that you're just brought in to fill a big hole.
Right, but you're not going to consider Derek Noddy hard to replace, are you?
No, he's not hard to replace, in my opinion. I don't think it's anything you're going to miss. I like the potential of what we have now. I want to see how it pans out. Now, look, it could be a miss. It could be a swing and a miss. You never know. You see draft picks not work out a lot. I mean, right. Sky Moore was a second-round pick, and you see him not work out. But I do think Omar Norman Lott does offer you some of what Turk does. I think his ceiling's higher than Turk. His floor may be higher than Turk's when Turk first come out. He come out of a Division II school. He wasn't, looked on as he was going to do anything. And Turk battled injuries a lot early in his career. And last year, you've seen it kind of all come together. I don't think it'll take Omar Norman Lott 4 or 5 years to get it to come together. I think you'll see what you get within 2 to 3 years with him.
Right.
But I think the defensive line's in a better position right now.
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of it is basically projection. There's a lot of rookies we haven't even seen on the field yet, but I do think there's more talent there than we had last year. I think that's easy to say.
We didn't talk about Felix at all in that little segment.
Of course, that's the whole point I made earlier. He's so easy to forget, right?
But we need to, because I believe this is a make it or break it year for Felix 100%. And I think that he's closer. If I had to put my money on it, I think he's closer to the make it over the break it side. He has shown an ability, and he's starting to work with Karlaftis more, Tamba Lee more. I think he will get there. I think what it was is he come in, he tried to just use the same stuff that used in college, and you realize it's a different game. You're not as quick. You're not as strong as these guys. I think hopefully he gets there this year, and I think he's got the drive to do it. you know, he may not be there 100%, but I think he's going to look a lot better this season.
I think so too. I think it comes with reps as well. He's not really earned a whole lot of reps. We haven't seen him a whole lot.
Does
Like,
he really got to do too much to be able to replace a guy like Mike Dana? That's my point. You ain't got to go too high.
Exactly. But if you told somebody that with a first-round draft pick you were only going to get a Mike Dana replacement, that's still
That's
a bit of a
miss.
letdown, right?
Yeah, that's a miss.
So I mean, I think it's natural for people to just kind of be out on Felix a little bit, or just like kind of forgetting about him, like I do over and over again. But I mean, he's definitely got to step up this year. There's no joke. It's make or break for him.
Steve,
for sure.
Hemi Butler in the chat. He said, call me crazy, but Omar Norman Lott could be the next Chris Jones.
Ooh,
He's
that's
got some
tough.
pass rush and tangibles. If you remember Chris Jones coming out of Mississippi State, he didn't light the world on fire. Nobody
Right.
really thought that was going to happen. And so I like Omar Norman Lott. I think he gets – Steve, a lot of people didn't like the pick. They soured on it. Like even Mel Kiper, for example, Steve. We watch Mel Kiper because we watch a lot of draft stuff, right? Like we try to get as much info as we can to relay. Mel Kiper had this guy maybe 3-4 weeks before the draft. Mel Kiper had an entire episode where he talked about guys that could sneak into round one, and Omar Norman Lott was at the top of that list. He said,
Right.
do not be surprised with talking to NFL GMs if this guy couldn't go between 25 and 32. Okay? I remember that plain as day. He was already my number 4 rated DT at the time when I heard that from him. And he said, quote, I've talked to NFL GMs and that is the consensus. And so that's why in my first mock draft, Steve, I put Omar Norman Lott at the end of the first round at pick number 31. People said I was crazy. Turns out he did have a knee issue that come about and people got scared of him. But getting him at the end of the
Sound
second.
familiar?
Yeah. Getting him at the end of the second, I think, was a nice value on a player with such high upside for me. And a lot of Chiefs talking heads didn't like it. He's not fast getting off the ball. What are you watching?
That's
what are
crazy,
you watching?
brother. That's
that
crazy.
That tells me you didn't watch a single snap of film. You're just repeating something.
Yeah, dude. That's the first thing that jumps off the film at me is that quick first step and just how explosive he can be. I think there's a super high ceiling there for Omar Norman Lott. Once again, this is a kid that a lot of people were worried about because he only played limited snaps because he was basically a pass rusher. They didn't really use him a whole lot in the run game at Tennessee, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are worried about that, and rightfully so. He might not be an every down guy. I mean, he just might not be that. But I do think that he could be super effective in the pass rush.
Isn't that why we have guys like Mike Pinnell, though?
Exactly. That was my point.
Everybody's not required. Everybody's position's not required to play every snap of every game. Chris Jones is not going to play every snap of every game.
Yeah.
You have to pick and choose. You got to be very deep, and everybody has to be a specialist. Steve, I would rather somebody be a specialist at something than mediocre at everything. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Or just even good at everything. I'd rather have a specialist pass rusher than a good pass rusher and a good, run defender. I don't want just good. I want specialists that I can rotate.
Right. Well, normally when you hear the term Swiss Army knife, it goes along with a player that never really does a whole lot.
Yeah, there are guys that are
that's
just solid,
the truth.
right?
It's the same reason that, excuse me, it's the same reason I think that Travis Hunter, is that his name? He's going to have to pick a position and stick with it. I'm sorry, but you're not going to play DB. You're not going to play wide receiver and go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Not at this level. You need to pick one. You need to master it. That's what you need to do. I just think that's just how it is. And
Do you think at the end of the day, though, they're going to basically keep him on defense and then offense, he's going to get like 10
Like
snaps?
this moron's talking about changing jerseys in the middle of the freaking drive so he can have a different number on defense.
It's just doing too much. It's putting
It's a
off
spectacle.
too much.
It's dumb. It's dumb. I think in a league like the NFL, it's very, very tough to get to. The percentage of people that play football in high school that make it to the NFL is literally closer to 0 than it is to 1, right? Like, it's very, very slim chance that you get there. You have to be the best of the best of the best of the best. You're not going to play 15 positions, and you're not going to be good at everything. But you're going to be damn good at what you do. And I think that's what Omar Norman Lott will be able to do, hopefully, in the first couple of years. But let's move it along. Let's go to the offensive side. And before we do that, I want to shout out everybody that showed up today on this holiday. I see a lot of the guys in here that we haven't seen in a while. Cobra Kai Ties in the house. David Howe. We got who was the other one I saw? Javier Sanchez, Flip, and then we got the usual suspects. Thanks for all of our mods for showing up and showing out like you always do. Appreciate you guys. But yeah, just hit the like button real quick if you haven't already. Just takes a second and all that good stuff. And if you're new to the channel, welcome in. Just going to talk some Chiefs football. If you like what you hear, hit the subscribe button. Hang out with us more often. Don't be afraid to get in the chat. Super cool people here on this channel and in the chat, so don't be afraid to get out there unless you're just a lurker by nature, and then you can do that too. All right.
By all means, lurk away.
Lurk away. Shout out Damo real quick. Been a member for a year now, so let's go, baby.
Damo, baby.
Appreciate you. So let's move it on over to the offense, man. So I guess I'll ask you the same question. If there's one soft spot on this offense that you're worried about, what would it be?
I mean, the easy answer is the left side of the offensive line.
100%.
But I'm going to look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to choose during this offseason process to not get too hyped or too down on that. I'm going to choose to let Brett Veach do what he did in the offseason, which in my opinion, I think Brett Veach done about as good as you could have done this offseason.
Yeah, you have to give him an A+ on attacking that position,
He
right?
got the best left tackle he could possibly get, and he had to do it in free agency because you can't take a gamble that you're going to have somebody fall to you in the draft.
Right.
Then he got maybe possibly the best overall left tackle prospect in the draft to fall to you after trading down and getting a pick back. So Brett Veach done about as good as he could do. When it comes to guard, okay, he's still not got our boy re-signed on the right side yet, but I think that's coming. A lot of people didn't like the whole move of trading Tooney or whatever, but I think it probably had to be done.
It had to happen.
I do think that left guard, in my opinion, left guard's in a little shakier spot than left tackle at this point. I choose to trust Jalen Moore and Josh Simmons to find a solid guy than right now where you've just got Kingsley, Caliendo. Those guys could be solid. They could, but Caliendo's only played 4 or 5 games in the NFL, and I know that's what Jalen Moore's played too. I totally get that. But I feel better with Josh Simmons being my backup as opposed to, say, Caliendo the backup to Kingsley or Kingsley the backup to Caliendo, because we're still seeing what we got out of Kingsley and stuff. And he didn't have a great season last year. But here's what I choose to do. I choose to let Andy and the offensive line and the coaches figure this out before I choose to panic. I'm going to give them a few weeks of the season to see if I'm going to panic there. So for now, I think they've done about as good as they could have done in the offseason. Let's let them come together and gel. And again, Andy Heck has to start developing some of these guys. You have to start getting over the hump with developing these cats, because you can draft them all day long. Brett Veach has drafted lots of offensive players, but very few besides the guys that, were standouts coming out of college. Creed, Trey Smith. They've not very rarely panned out here.
Yeah, for sure. I think with left tackle, sometimes it's easy to be like, well, it can't get any worse than it was at left tackle, right? I mean, if you think in the last few years, we've had like Donovan Smith, and then we had like a carousel of guys there last year, and then ended up ultimately being a guard, Joe Tooney playing left tackle, right? So it's hard to look at Jalen Moore and even Joshua Simmons and be like, well, it can't really be any worse, right? Like, I think that's one thing. I think surely to God we can get something to pan out over there that's just as good as a Donovan Smith, who we won a Super Bowl with, right? So that's one thing. I don't know if there's panic there, but then when you think about losing Joe Tooney, that also makes that tackle's job a little bit harder, because he made people's lives easier over there, right? Absolutely, 100%. But then you got that hole there now. So I think that's why people are worried about the left side of the line. And you mentioned a couple of guys. You said Mike Caliendo. Obviously, that's who was doing it at the end of last season. You've heard a lot of rumblings about Kingsley Suamataia taking over that left guard position.
Don't forget Wanye.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. How come you never hear anything about Wanye? Like, what's the deal with that? And then they drafted Hunter Norzad for things like this. Obviously,
because he's a weed smoking degenerate. No, I'm joking.
Him and Chew Godric, they're just
those two. Cheech and Chong are degenerates. Okay, get it together.
Chong.
No, I'm joking.
But yeah, I mean, they drafted, like, Hunter Norzad was drafted as a guy that could play center, could play guard, this and
CJ
that.
Hansen.
Hey, Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
Remember? Like I said, most of the time when you hear that, the only player I hope that doesn't stick with is Brashard Smith, because I've heard that about him, and I'm hoping that he can pan out. But let's stick to the offensive line here. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm exactly there with you. Like, I think that you have to give it time and see what they decide to go with, see which players they decide to go with, and then give it a few weeks to gel. Because, I mean, say if they were to go with Josh Simmons and Kingsley Suamataia. Kingsley Suamataia got limited snaps. He played one full game, half of another game, and then got thrown in some random snaps throughout his rookie season. He also got shat on, right? They're like, hey, you're getting your ass beat by the best pass rusher in the league, so you go to the bench and never play again. Deal with that with your confidence, right? So you have that, and then
That's
you have
wild
a rookie.
that was Trey Hendrickson that did that. Like, it wasn't some, like, no-name guy.
Right. So it's like he has that to overcome, and then you have a rookie. So, yeah, that could take a while to get going. Whether it's going to be a good thing or not, it might not start great. It might be rocky. It might take a minute.
That's going to go right into Patrick Mahomes. He's going to fall right back into can't trust, got to be crazy, got to create, overdoing it.
Patrick
dancing
Mahomes,
too
as much as anybody else, has to be patient with that. And if he, at this point in his career, 8 years in or whatever, if he doesn't have the mental to be patient with two rookies essentially on the left side of your line, and you let that affect your entire season, then that's on him, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, you're probably going to take a lump here or there.
Do you think he looked more confident or less confident when Joe Tooney slid to left tackle and Caliendo played left guard?
He looked a little bit more confident, in my opinion. I think that's when he started playing a little bit better.
They looked better, and then
it kind of peaked and then regressed.
Well, here's the thing. I think it kind of started to look. It looked good. I think it got to a point where it started to look better than good, and that's what gave Andy the false confidence that he could go back and sling at the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I guess so.
In a
But I
way.
mean, at the same time, you'd gone with it so long, it was almost impossible to come off of it.
If he felt more confident with Caliendo, do you think Caliendo's got the heads up on Kingsley right now? And then do you also think that maybe you go with a little bit of a veteran presence at left tackle rather than just throwing another rookie in there and kind of giving him Kingsley vibes? So you think maybe Caliendo and Jalen Moore have the slight advantage right now?
I would say that is correct. I would say that they have the upper hand right now for the simple fact, did you see Kingsley Suamataia starting at guard last year at the end of the year? No. Mike Caliendo was. So obviously he has the upper hand there. And then as far as the left tackle position goes, I think that Jalen Moore has a bit of an advantage on Josh Simmons just for the simple fact that he's been there. He literally started a lot of games there for San Francisco last year in the absence of Trent Williams. Also, he played behind one of the best left tackles in the league.
Yeah, not coming off a knee injury either.
Exactly. So I definitely would agree with that. I think they both have the upper hand. Shout out Javier Sanchez with a 10 bomb. Let's go, baby. He says, any takes on how Travis Kelce would do this season? Well, let's move off the offensive line for a little bit and go to the pass catchers in general. And I think we'll kind of wrap this into that. Just to answer your question right off the rip, I do think that Travis Kelce has every opportunity to do better this season than he did last season. Last season was considered a down year for Travis Kelce. He still almost hit 1,000. I think he was in the 800 range somewhere. It didn't look great at times. Sometimes he was completely lost in the sauce. Sometimes it looks like him and Mahomes didn't have that chemistry they used to have. And then at other times, just like the Super Bowl, it looked like Kelce didn't give a rat's ass if he was there or not. So I think there was a lot going on last year. I think Kelce had a lot of things off the field distracting him. Do you think we see it more focused, Kelce? Because he's already talked about, I've lost 25 pounds. I want to play in the best shape I've ever been in this season. Mike, do you think we see a more focused Travis Kelce that can get back to that go-to guy for Patrick Mahomes?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the big thing. Look, you can't reverse age. You can't reverse wear and tear on your body to a certain extent. It's going to be there, right? So I think you're going to see Kelce still have some limitations this year. I don't care if he loses weight or not. He can be a little quicker. He can be a little more nimble. Maybe it's easier on his joints and his body. But he's still a little older, right? And so you're still, naturally going to decline in speed and different things. But what Kelce can't allow to happen is that to get into his mental game. And I think that's the one thing he can control. And I do think you'll see a more focused Travis Kelce. If for anything else, this could be his last season, and maybe he knows it, and he wants to go out on top and prove that he was the best to ever do it. So I do think you're going to see that again. Will it ever get back to the 100% domination that you see between Mahomes Kelce? I don't know if we ever get there again. That was a special time. That was like the Jordan Pippen. That was the Brady Gronk. Like, you put those in that same category of, like, the Kobe Shaq, just like these marriages that come together and was just so great. And sometimes those just fade. due to time, due to whatever else. So I don't know if we get there again to that super extreme, but I think you'll see shades of it more this year than we did last year. Last year it just looked horrible and it looked off, and it was kind of sad to watch at times.
Yeah. Appreciate the 10, Javier. Thanks, man. So let's just go to pass catchers as a whole real quick. I think that Patrick Mahomes is in a much better position this year than he was last year, as far as pass catchers go. And the reason why I say that is we should have Rashee Rice back healthy, hopefully. I mean, that's the main thing, because obviously that was his go-to man. That guy was tearing it up. He was setting the league on fire right before his injury. Then you got Xavier Worthy, who was looking pretty damn good at the end of his rookie season. And now he gets to build on that. Then, of course, you have Hollywood Brown, hopefully healthy for the season, right? We don't need another repeat of last year. And then they even drafted another guy, Jalen Royals, that can offer you a lot of things that Rashee Rice does and more. It just depends on how they can get him into the mix. And they still have a veteran presence there in Juju Smith-Schuster. So I think that they're kind of well-rounded at the wide receiver position. If Travis Kelce comes back a little more focused and maybe they can get some of that magic back between him and Mahomes, this offense could look totally different than it did last year as far as passing the ball, right?
Yeah, I think the offense is in a better spot this year than last year. The pass catchers, in my opinion, this is maybe the best group that Mahomes has had. Now, look, you still have Rashee coming off of an injury. You still got a possible suspension looming. Right. Julia just brings that up. I
would say I'm leaning more towards no than yes at this point. And even if he does, I think it's 3 or 4 games. I
would say no to 4. I think anything over 4, I'm gonna
no to 4 is a good way
that
to
out
put
there.
It. I like that.
But I would say it's right in that range. So I'm not really worried about it, because technically, if the league were to say suspend him, like, hey, Rashee, you got to serve a suspension. You did something wrong. Here's 2 games. Here's 4 games. We'll give it to you at the beginning of the season. That may help us in the long run, because it maybe doesn't let us rush him back through injury. Now, look, will that appease other people in the league? No, the Chiefs get babied. They did that on purpose. You know, it was the same equivalent of like when people thought they were going to suspend him last year when he got injured. That was ridiculous. Goodell wasn't going to do that. So I don't think there's anything to worry about with that as a whole. But Steve, the whole pass catchers as a group is better. Sky Moore has to come in and do something this year in camp. And by do something,
you're joking.
By do something this year, he's going to have to prove that he's probably the best receiver in the world to make this roster at this point. I think he's pretty much out. But another guy that I would like to see maybe get some opportunity is Nico. What do we have with Nico Remigio? Is this the 3rd year of messing with Nico?
Yes.
This is the 4th or 5th year of Justin Ross. I feel like Ross and Moore is already off now. Like, it's time to move on from those two.
Let them go somewhere else and have some sort of a career,
right? Make it or break it with Nico this year. And even Juju, it would not surprise me at the end of camp if Juju struggles with injuries or something. He could almost have a Kadarius Toney type exit.
I doubt that. I
do too, because you have to worry about the suspensions and things. But I'm just saying, he does have the potential to be outplayed with some young talent.
I understand that, but I feel like with Juju, and the reason why they brought him back last season is because he kind of gives like a calming factor to that wide receiver room, right?
I get it.
He's the veteran. He knows the offense, and he's been there, done that, right? So I think that's like a bit of a comfort thing for either the coaches or even Mahomes. I don't know.
I guess my thought process would be kind of the way we analyze the defensive line. Is there a time where you have to put up the comfort and take the shiny new toy that's showing lots of promise and potential? And if Jalen Royals is doing what Juju's being able to do, and he's younger,
but there's room on the roster for both of them.
And well, you say that, but last year we took 2 running backs, guys. You can't do that again this year. We got a potential to take 4, maybe 5 if you take the fullback. Some of these receivers are going to have to get cut, and he's going to start coming off of 7 at some point.
Well, I think 6 Juju still fits in the mix. I just do. I think
6
if it's 7,
Juju's fighting.
I think if it's 7, I think that you could see potentially like a guy like Elijah Badger make the roster. Like
so Juju's probably what right now?
Him.
Number 5?
Yeah, I would
him
say
a 5.
I would say he's right there with Jalen
I mean,
Royals
he's
at that
above
4 to
Jalen
5
Royals,
spot,
but you
right?
don't throw out a pick with upside like Jalen Royals. You would take Royals over Juju
Of
going into the
course,
season,
of
I
course.
think, if it
But
was down to
I
that.
think Juju easily lands ahead of everybody else you mentioned.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think he's going to be around, brother. JCP with the 2 bomb says, let the boy get thrown around. Let him get thrown around, Mike. He says, no Caliendo. He gets thrown around too much. That is one problem with Caliendo, I guess, is he's I don't know if he's a tad bit undersized or what, but Caliendo does kind of get manhandled from time to time. However, I do think that Caliendo does a pretty damn good job at coming in and doing what he's got to do. Much like Nick Allegretti, I know a lot of you guys said that you like Nick Allegretti better. Mike, I think you even mentioned that you liked Allegretti a little bit better than him. But
He was more developed.
But I kind of feel like that's the type of vibe you get with a Caliendo. He's like a guy that can come in a pinch and do something. Now, being the actual starting left guard, I'm with JCP. I would rather find something a little bit better there. But it's nice to have a guy like Caliendo on the team. He's kind of like what you were sold, like Hunter Norzad was sold at. He's a guy that can come in a pinch and do what you need to do, right? And I think he did that well. But it got extended out to probably the back quarter of the season to where he just had to start the entire time. So obviously at times you were seeing him not look so great against stiffer competition and stuff like that. But then again,
See, Caliendo's
Andy Reid loves Caliendo, bro.
Yeah, Caliendo's 301 pounds. I think Joe Tooney's playing weight was 304. So there's no difference.
So they're similar,
there.
huh?
They're similar, but the problem is like Tooney is that once in a lifetime.
He's a monster.
He's a
right.
Hall of Famer, and you guys are trying to compare a Mike Caliendo who's never played that come out of some small college in Michigan with Sky Moore. You guys are trying to compare the two instantly. It's not going to happen. It's either give them time to develop and see if you find somebody, or say, hey, this guy sucks after 4 games, throw him to the Wolves. I think we all need to have a little more patience.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Andy sees something in him, and I in no way think that I'm a better evaluator of talent or a better determining character judger of football. I don't even know if that's a real thing, but I don't think I'm anywhere in Andy Reid, a Hall of Fame, maybe the best to ever do its coaching prowess. I'm not in his ballpark trying to determine who can play and who can't. And if he likes Caliendo, then I'll like Caliendo.
Well, that's the thing, man. I think it's all about perspective, too. You got to look at what you got and what they've done. Mike Caliendo, I think this is going to be his 3rd season this year. I think he's going into his 3rd season.
Yeah, and he spent the other just basically on the practice squad.
Well, that's the thing, man. This kid was a UDFA, and somehow he's managed to put in meaningful snaps in both of his seasons as an NFL player. So
I'll give him time to
we'll
develop.
see.
I think as a UDFA, you should get at least 4 to 5 years to see if you can get there.
The fact that he's a UDFA and he's been utilized as much as he has is pretty impressive.
I think he shows potential. It's not saying he don't have a lot of flaws with his game, but he shows some potential. Like, I think Caliendo shows better potential playing left guard than we've seen from Sky Moore playing wide receiver, and one was a UDFA and one was a 2nd-round pick.
I
So
would
we're
agree
really
with
supposed
that.
to be that hard on Caliendo? Like, let's calm down.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think I'm with JCP. Like, I would love to have someone at a
I-
higher caliber to start at left guard. Yes.
Always have to have better talent, rotating, and fighting for the job. 100%.
Ty, been a member for 21 months now, says looking forward to the 3rd annual Crew Chew. Also, glad you guys are holding up good. Mother Nature has came for Kentucky guns blazing this last couple of months. Go Chiefs.
Yeah.
Not sure what Kentucky did to the good Lord, but man, it's been the wrath over here. Mike kind of caught the brunt end of that with the floods. Got flooded completely out of his home and was gone for 3 weeks. It took you longer than that to get it back together. So yeah, it's been a slow start to May for all Chiefed Up because Mike spent most of it trying to restore his house. So that's what he's been up to. But yeah, and then the tornadoes and stuff. Thank God they were a little more south. That was down south, so we didn't get
Kentucky
hit
got
with any of
tore
that. But
up down there. Did you see some of those towns?
yeah, dude, it was bad. It was real bad.
It was really bad.
But good to see you, Ty. Hope you're doing well, brother.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother.
But yeah, man. So the offense as a whole, I think, could potentially be better, but it all hinges on the offensive line, right? I think it does because if you start looking at what Patrick Mahomes had to say was, he's got to get out of his head. He's got to quit being too conservative. He's not giving his receivers enough chances. He's respecting defenses too much. Is that because of the pressure he was feeling off the left side of that line? Or do you think just listen to this for a second. Do you think the left side of that line got more pressure and dealt with more because Mahomes was being indecisive and Mahomes was being too conservative? Mahomes was holding on to the ball too long. Do you think if we see a combination of a little bit better left side of the offensive line and Mahomes actually not, getting the ball out and not pump faking himself to death back there and running in circles, I think that could go a long way, man. I think it comes from both of them a little bit.
Yeah, I think with anything in life, it's not so easy to pinpoint an exact problem. Like there's usually several sides to stories and several things that go into making things what they are. I think you're 100% right. I think at times the left side caused Mahomes to be antsy, and at times when the left side would hold up miraculously, Mahomes would, fake himself out. So I think it's there a little bit. I think we have to get back to developing that trust, and that takes time. It really does. I think we got to get back to doing it. And I think some of that was on Andy, especially the Super Bowl. He did not game plan that properly. And I think Andy had a little bit too much confidence in that left side holding up. He had too much confidence in Tooney and them, I think, in my opinion. And the Eagles said not so much. You've still got
to. He did nothing in the offense to alleviate the pressure there.
Right. And
100%.
Look, I think Andy's got to get back a little bit. And again, I don't want to, I just had an entire last segment saying I trust Andy, and I do. But Andy has always been a coach that tends to favor the pass game a little too much. He tends to get a little too cute. He tends to overdo
himself
things
sometimes.
Yeah, he outthinks himself. So Andy's kind of got to take a step back here and be like, look, I need to install some confidence. How do you install confidence within an offensive line and even a quarterback trying to get that back? You've got to get back to the short game. You got to start getting a screen game back here in Kansas City. I didn't see a good screen game at all last year, and I thought our offense missed that. That was a big time thing
110%,
that our offense missed last year.
If you don't have a solid run game, if Andy Reid don't have a running back where he's going to run the ball 100% like young Kareem Hunt, Shady McCoy, Westbrook, whoever you want to talk about, if he don't have that guy, Jamal Charles even, if he don't have those guys that he feels 100% confidence in giving 15, 20 plus carries to every game, you better damn well hope there's some kind of a screen game. And last year we had neither. This year, they didn't attack the running back position the way that a lot of Chiefs Kingdom wanted them to. Now you're looking at Isaiah Pacheco in a contract year, which I think is a good thing. You're looking at Kareem Hunt, who now has an entire offseason under his belt. He's not coming off the couch this year. So, once again, I think right off the rip, that is a plus from last year. And then you bring in someone like a Brashard Smith and Elijah Mitchell. These guys can do a lot of those things that Jarrett McKinnon used to do. And dare I say, Brashard Smith can probably do it a lot better. Not the blocking aspect, but the pass catching. Brashard Smith was an all-ACC wide receiver with Miami who converted to running back in his last season with SMU. I think we could use him in the pass game. I think he could be a killer in the pass game. The guy runs a blazing 40. He's fast as hell.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up running back, Steve, because this is a sore subject for some, and it's not a sore subject, but it's like it's a subject that they don't understand. So back 3 or 4 years ago, Andy was taking 5 running backs, and then now he started to take 7 wide. He only took 2 last year. He took Pacheco and he took Clyde.
Am I mistaken? Or I don't mean to interrupt, but am I mistaken? Or is there one year when they took like 7 wide and 4 running backs with like Ronald Jones Jr.?
It's possible. It's possible they did that. So what I'm trying to say is you're in a position now where they went and they loaded the running back room with a lot of decent talent. There's a lot of unproven stuff there, but it's decent. So you went out and you signed Elijah Mitchell in the offseason. That was one of your first 2 or 3 big acquisitions. You got Pacheco coming back. You drafted Brashard Smith. You still got Carson Steele in-house, and you re-signed Kareem Hunt after having a pretty good year. So that's 5 total. Now, look, if they do 2 and a running back, because they did that last year, they put Carson Steele on the roster as a running back. I still think Andy keeps the running back, and so I still think Carson Steele is right there to make the roster this season. So if you guys don't think there's going to be no more than 2 running backs, which 2 running backs are you cutting? Are you cutting Brashard Smith? Are you cutting Kareem Hunt? Or are you cutting the guy you signed in the offseason? I think there's a real possibility where the Chiefs take 3 and they cut one of those guys, or they just keep all four and keep the fullback, and they take 5 backs into this season. And a lot of people's going to say, well, Andy don't run the ball. Why does he do that? I don't know, but he's done it several times.
Yeah.
So who would you think's I don't think Brashard Smith is versing Pacheco. People's making it a Pacheco versus Brashard. Who's going to take the ball? I think it's Brashard Smith versus Elijah Mitchell at this point. Who's going to get the third down row? Who's going to be the pass catcher row? Who could possibly be a McKinnon in our offense? Because we missed Jerick McKinnon last year.
Yeah, for sure. Julia Gulia says Locked On thinks Kareem Hunt isn't a lock to make the roster. What y'all think?
That's kind of in the wheelhouse of what I was just trying to ask. Like, who's the guy on the bubble?
I would be the opposite. I would be the opposite of that. I think Kareem Hunt's going to be on the roster if he wants to be on the roster.
So who's not? Is it going to be the rookie? That's a very good possibility. Brashard Smith doesn't
if I had to guess right now, I think they're taking 4 solidly. I think Carson Steele's out. I think he's going to be on the practice squad.
They're not taking a fullback.
No, absolutely not. I think they're going to look like, why would they? They haven't used one since sausage. And that's been years ago.
We had a lot. Look, here's what I'll say. Carson Steele helped a lot sometimes in those roles of that 4th and short.
Yeah,
we didn't struggle
Kareem
with
Hunt
that as much last
helped
year.
more than he did. Kareem Hunt, like once we got Kareem Hunt in there, it was like, here, we don't have to worry about third.
I just don't think Andy's going to pull off that fullback anymore. I think Carson's still done enough last year that I want to give him more of a chance. I don't want to relegate his role. I think he could do something good in this league as a fullback.
I'm not arguing with you on that, but I think right now, if I had to guess, I think that's the way it's going to be. You're going to see Isaiah Pacheco, Kareem Hunt, 1-2. I think that's the way it was last year. It's the way it's going to be this year. And then I think you're going to have that third down row be between Elijah Mitchell and Brashard Smith. I could see all 4 of those be on the roster. The rest of them
I think depending on how Brashard Smith looks, it's possible he could go to the practice squad. And I think that you might have a Kareem Hunt versus Elijah Mitchell battle. Elijah Mitchell's got to prove something. He's only on, a 1-year deal. It wasn't nothing crazy.
Right. Well, one reason I think that Kareem Hunt basically is a lock on this roster, why I would go completely against what I guess Locked On said, is because I think that they're too injury prone. Like he's the only guy on the team that was a constant even last year. I mean, Isaiah Pacheco gets hurt. He just does. The way he runs the football, we've seen it now. He can get hurt. It's always a shoulder, something this or that. Even if it's something little. Last year, it was a major injury. He broke his ankle. He was out for several weeks. And then you got Elijah Mitchell, who's yet to play a full season in his entire freaking existence in the NFL, I think. I don't know if he's played a full season at all. Kareem Hunt was somebody that they called off the freaking couch last year out of desperation, and he did a tremendous job. Like, there were times where he was carrying our entire freaking offense. Like, literally. I think it was the Buffalo game, like, he literally took it over. Like, Kareem Hunt has that ability. Kareem Hunt knows the offense. They're comfortable with Kareem Hunt. Everybody likes Kareem Hunt, and I think he's got the talent left. I think he's an easy shoe.
I think Kareem Hunt showed that he's valuable in short yardage and goal line situations. I don't take away nothing from Carson Steele there either. I still think Andy wants to have a fullback within this offense. I think Carson Steele showed enough, and I think, take off those fumbles early in the year with Carson Steele where they were using him as a feature back, and Carson Steele had a pretty good season. They kind of relegated his role because of that. I do not see any problem with Carson Steele holding on to the football. Like, to me, that was a lot of just bad luck on his end last year.
There were 2 fumbles, and if you go back and watch them, they were literally punched out. He had the ball high and tight.
He had it high and tight. So
bad luck, man.
For me, if I could find one guy on this roster that could not make it, it's either Brashard Smith doesn't turn around and do what they think he's going to do, or it's Elijah Mitchell, because Elijah Mitchell's the one for me that I don't feel like he has a defined role right now. I can't look at Elijah Mitchell out of anybody because Pacheco's your bell cow. Okay, Brashard Smith looks like he's your change of pace guy. He's your McKinnon guy. You've got your fullback, and you've got another short yardage guy with Kareem Hunt.
Right.
I think for me, Elijah Mitchell's the one, and he's only on a 1-year, $1.3, $1.4 million contract. Wouldn't surprise me if he didn't get, he might be the guy looking in, on the outside looking in.
Hey, look, David, I did something for you. Look right there. Now you know.
It's okay. It's okay. I won't be offended if you call me Steve. Steve's not that bad of a human.
I guess. Well, I think in whole, just, we're getting ready to go into this season. I think that the OTAs kind of just starts the season. It's the first on-team activity or on-field activities other than rookie mini camp, right? So now you get the team out there. Of course, it's voluntary, but you get most of the team out there, and you get to start implementing some things, right?
Welcome to the dark side, David. Welcome
Dark
to the
side it is.
Good to have you here. No, Steve, do you think running back? Now that we talked about that a little bit, do you think that might be one of the biggest camp battles, position battles of everything? Is how Elijah Mitchell's going to fit in? Who are they going to take? How many are they going to take? I think that's a fun one to watch all offseason.
Sure, but at the same time, I'm pretty confident that that's the 4 they're taking. I mean, I would be
So you
super
think they're
surprised
taking
if that
4?
changes.
You don't think you don't think they're taking a fullback?
I think they take 4 for the simple fact that they're not going to leave out Brashard Smith and or Elijah Mitchell. They signed up for a reason, right? I think Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, they're locked in. They're locked in. That's your main backs, right?
I will say, Steve, that yes, Brashard Smith looks great on paper, and he's a 7th round pick. You would think they wouldn't, but there's tons of 7th round picks don't make rosters. We've had 3rd round picks not make a roster before.
I just think that he's going to be too valuable. I think
he has to prove it.
Well, yeah, for sure, but I think that he will. I think that's going to be very easy for him to prove, hey, I can be very effective in this pass game. I'm a freaking wide receiver. I run a 4-3, and I know how to play a running back position. Now, what he needs to do, Mike, is figure out how to pick up blitzes, how to protect Patrick Mahomes. Because if he can zero in on that and really focus in on it and get better at that and prove that he can do that part, like Jarrett McKinnon did, it's gold. It's golden
role
for him.
Yeah,
it's golden
we need that
for
McKinnon.
him.
Do you think a guy of Brashard Smith's size can pull that off?
Sure. I mean, why not?
What is he, 190?
If you watch his tape, Mike, I think he was a very willing blocker. Like, he might be a little undersized and he might get trampled over from time to time, but he did stick his nose in there and do the pass protecting that he needed to do. He did not shy away from it. So I think that there's definitely something to build on there. He's not afraid of it. He's not allergic to trying to block. So I think that we can build on that. That's definitely a part of his game that I think will make or break him here.
I think he's a little allergic. No, he's 190. They're showing him at 196.
He's small.
He's given 20 pounds to McKinnon. McKinnon was a rock back there, man.
Yeah, but McKinnon wasn't that big either.
I do think in the NFL though, there's a difference between willingness to block and being able to do it. Because in college sometimes you can just get in the way. In the NFL, they're just going to run right through you. And more than likely, they can just throw you into the quarterback. I've seen Micah Parsons do that a few times. So you've got to do more. Like, you've got to stand your ground. I'm with you. I do believe he can do it. He does have to get a little stronger. I believe you got to get Brashard Smith above 200 playing weight.
Well, here's the thing, though. You kind of hit the nail on the head about 20 minutes ago. This team has to get some sort of a screen game going. Yeah. If you're not going to give a running back 20-plus carries in a game, you have to have a screen game. You have to have some kind of a short game that the defense has to be accountable for.
So we're saying you don't need 20-plus carries. You need 20-plus touches.
You need something.
Yeah, we need some touches back there.
Because when the defense doesn't have to respect any kind of a short game, you're going to get a lot of those Super Bowl games where it's like, hey, this team is stupid. They're going to do nothing but hold on to the freaking ball and try to throw the ball down the field. They refuse to run it. They refuse to screen pass. Let's just go after the quarterback and make his life miserable.
Yeah.
Very, very easy for a team to do that, especially with the talent the Eagles had. When you put together a Pro Bowl team and you try that against them like Andy Reid did, you're going to get your ass spanked.
Yeah.
I mean, Steve, plain and simple.
Look, we've had a great conversation today about this roster, defense, offense. We've discussed things that we're looking forward to going into tomorrow and into this offseason as a whole. We've talked about some weak spots. We think safeties on defense might be your weak spot. And then on offense, it's still that left side of the offensive line.
Correct.
Running back is a wild battle. I think at the 5, 6, 7 spot at your wide receiver is always a battle every year. We want to see the defensive line get better. There's one or two guys we didn't talk about today that I would like to talk about really quick. Can we talk a little bit about the tight end room as a whole? And where maybe like Jake Brenningstool stands, like does he have a shot to make the roster in your opinion? Or do you think Jared Wiley's pretty much got that on lock? Or do you think they take 4? I think taking 4 is a little rich. And then also Jeffrey Bossa, that's a guy that gets overlooked all the time on the defense. Do you think Bossa has a chance to be something special within this defense?
100%, man. Jeffrey Bossa is a very smart kid. He's a very good player. He's a good athlete. So I think that Jeffrey Bossa was not only brought in as like a special teams guy, which is what you're going to see a lot this year. But I think in the next year or two, you could see Jeffrey Bossa starting as a linebacker. 100%. I mean, he was a green dot at Oregon.
Jeffrey Bossa used to play safety too, so do
Yes.
not count that out. He's got that
he's
versatility.
very, very good in coverage, which is what a lot of people talk about all the time, is our linebackers aren't good in coverage. We need a good coverage linebacker. That's Jeffrey Bossa. Like you said, he's a converted safety. The kid's just good.
He's Brett Veach taking another shot on a Willie Gay type player, in my opinion.
But he's much, much more than what Willie Gay offered.
I
Willie
think he
Gay
might
was an
be, too.
athlete. Willie Gay was an athlete that they were trying to make into this good linebacker, right? Like he could get from sideline to sideline super fast and stuff like that.
I think
Jeffrey
Bossa's a football player.
100%.
Yeah.
I think Jeffrey Bossa is going to be a good player. Now, will it be his rookie season? Kind of doubt you'll see him on the defense a whole lot in his rookie season. I could be wrong. You might see him out there more than you think.
I think it speaks a lot, Steve, that going into the draft, there was one specific coach that really liked Jeffrey Bossa, and I actually thought he was going to. I thought he was going to put reach on him in round 2 to round 3, and he never did. Mike Vrabel, who was a dang good linebacker, who also played for the Chiefs, played for the Patriots, obviously, a Hall of Fame type of player almost when you add his coaching resume in by the time he's going to be done. He's just a tough, instinctual linebacker, and he's seen that in Jeffrey Bossa. He really loved Bossa. That was his favorite player in the whole draft. I think that speaks a lot for Bossa's football.
Jeffrey Bossa does something that I think the Chiefs have been missing for several years now, and I tried to get them to, not tried to get them to, it's not like I was there trying to make them do it, but in my own little personal world, I was trying to get this to happen, Mike. Do you remember me talking about Amir Abdullah from Louisville over and over again?
Yeah.
I was like, the Chiefs need that tweener guy. They need that safety converted linebacker, somebody that can cover, somebody can do both, right? And why is that? If you look at the way our defense works, most of the time, Leo Chanel's not on the field because we have an extra safety in. Or we're missing a safety because Leo's in the game. It's like you'll see them go back and forth on that position. You put somebody like a Jeffrey Bossa in there, he can do both things. He can do
Does that mean
both.
we're still going to see less Leo, though? Because I think we're at a point in Leo's career where I want to see more Leo Chanel. I'm tired of him only getting 20% of the snaps on the defense.
Yeah, I think that they need to utilize Leo more for sure. But Leo, here's the thing with Leo. Leo is a downhill linebacker. He's coming downhill. He's going to hit you. He's going to stuff runs. He's going to blow up screen games
too. So
he
let
can
him
get after the passer. I would love to see him come off the edge more. 100%. I think Leo, they could do a lot of different things with him, and I'd like to see them utilize him more. But I think Jeffrey Bossa offers something that we haven't had. So I do like that. But let's get back to the tight ends. You were talking about the tight ends.
Yeah, tight ends.
So it's not out of the ordinary for Andy Reid to take 4. He has done that several times. So I think that they could go that route. Now, if you're just looking at a battle there for a third spot, and it's between Jared Wiley or Jake Brenningstool. Okay, Jared Wiley has a leg up on him just because he's been here a little bit longer. They invested more in him with a 4th-round draft pick, Jake Brenningstool, UDFA, right? Yeah. Now, he was a highly sought-after UDFA. I'm not sure how he fell out of the draft. I thought he would get drafted. I had him as my number 9 tight end in the entire draft, but he obviously didn't get drafted. There were like 4 teams after him. Andy made the personal phone call to Jake Brenningstool just to get him to come to Kansas City. Why did he do that? If you watch Jake Brenningstool's game, it's very reminiscent of Travis Kelce. He's a big wide receiver. Dude can do a lot of things. I'll tell you what he can't do. He can't block. And when I say he can't block, I'm not saying like Travis Kelce can't block, because Travis Kelce blocks pretty decent. He just can't block.
When he wants to.
Okay? Yeah. So Brenningstool's very one-dimensional, but he's pretty exciting. Here's my thing. I think, like, if you want to talk about, like, red zone threats, I think Jared Wiley's that guy. He's just big, catches everything thrown his way. Jake Brenningstool's a little more versatile than Jared Wiley, in my opinion. I think that he's more, like I said, a wide receiver. Now, so I think it would definitely be a battle between those two. Obviously, Travis Kelce's going to start, and Noah Gray's going to be right there behind him. That's not an argument. I would think we would see more Noah Gray this year than we did even last year. In the beginning of last year, we saw a lot of Noah Gray. Noah Gray had some big games. Noah Gray's proved time and time again he's ready to take over that position. It's just whenever Kelce decides to leave. It's just the position that Noah Gray is in right now, right? You're behind the greatest tight end to ever play the game, so you're literally just waiting for him to bow out and go make movies or whatever. Like that's literally what Noah Gray's doing here. And I think they're confident in him doing that, or else they wouldn't have extended him for 3 more freaking years on a pretty good contract. So I think they know that that's the next guy there. So if they decide to go 3, Mike, it's definitely a battle between Jared Wiley and Jake Brenningstool. And is it a lock for Jared Wiley? Absolutely not. I mean, Jared Wiley, 4th-round draft pick, I get it, opposed to a UDFA, but he was injured most of last year. And even when he wasn't injured, Mike, they barely got him rotated into the offense. So I think it's a pretty even playing field there for those two. It'll be a good camp battle to watch.
Yeah, let's see, he tore his ACL at the beginning of November. So November, December, January, February, March, April, May. So we're going on the 8th month. We're almost on the 8th month anniversary here in about a week of him tearing that ACL. So Andy's not really provided a lot of good updates on it. He just said he's doing well in his recovery. I think Brenningstool was just brought in because he's got some of the intangibles. I think he's a little more of a natural pass catcher than Wiley. Wiley's obviously bigger, taller, probably blocks better.
That's the only
He's
thing
more
I
of a
could
jump
really
ball.
think.
He's more of the Jody Fortson type. I think the Chiefs have always looked for that Jody Fortson type, right?
Isn't that kind of what Jake Brenningstool is?
Yeah.
Just kind of a
I
big
think that
wide receiver.
Brenningstool is here to audition for the job, obviously, but I think he's there to provide that Wiley presence until Wiley gets back. And then, like you said, if Wiley doesn't return back or Brenningstool actually looks better than him, I don't think they have a problem, showing Wiley the door as well. But I don't think there's any possibility they take 4. One of these guys will end up on the practice squad. I think Brenningstool is a nice practice squad player is what I would do. And I think in a year to 2 years, he could be a weapon for Mahomes because he was, in my opinion, he was like the Colston Loveland. He was the poor man's Colston Loveland.
Well, that sounds all fine and dandy, Mike, but at the same time, there were 4 or 5 teams going after Jake Brenningstool. I think he's a player that if you want him on your roster, you're going to have to put him on the 53. Otherwise, somebody's going to poach him.
People say that, though. We did that last year with a few guys, and they didn't get poached. A couple guys
Right,
everybody thought was going to get poached as soon as you put them on there, and they didn't.
Yeah, but there weren't 4 or 5 teams going after him literally 2 months ago. You know what I'm saying? So
maybe they find somebody in their camp that they like or something. So you never know.
It's a big possibility that a lot of these guys, David Howe pointed out in the chat, but there's a big possibility a lot of these guys could start the season on the IR.
Yeah, that's very possible too.
So, we could see Wiley doing that maybe. I don't know. But I think Wiley does offer you a better blocking game than the rest of the guys. And that's the thing. I feel like maybe there is a spot for a tight end on this roster like a Blake Bell. Like somebody that is just there to do the dirty work. Because we don't really have that right now.
Yeah, we didn't have that last year.
Right. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think that's going to be a good camp battle to watch. I think running back, the back end of the wide receivers, tight end, those are going to be really fun camp battles to watch. And then I think on the opposite side of the spectrum, I think you're looking at not really battles for the safety, but kind of how that plays out. And then for cornerback, that one could be a good battle to watch because they have a lot of talent there.
Give me 3 names. 3 names, offense or defense, doesn't matter. Who do you think starting tomorrow when they get here for these mandatory or non-voluntary, they're voluntary OTAs, but we're getting ready to go into mandatory. Give me 3 names of 3 guys that you think needs to be good front to back to be able to not only just make the roster, but maybe they're already roster locks per se, but maybe this is the time that they need to step it up a little bit. Who's the guys you want to see start to come on?
Well, I think the people that fit that script to me right off the top of my head is Josh Williams, cornerback. I think he's got to get back in the good graces of Steve Spagnuolo
that
somehow.
That was my number 1 as well.
We know he has the talent to do it. He's got all the intangibles, but I don't know if it is his understanding of the playbook or what it is that's holding him back that Spags doesn't want to use him. I think when he's on the football field, he plays just as well almost as Jalen Watson. I think he's got the intangibles to play better than him or be a better cornerback than him. His ceiling's higher. So I think he's one. I think number 2 is Nico Remigio. He's a kick returner, and he was great at it. But, you got to offer me something a little bit more because Brashard Smith or whoever can be a good kick returner, especially with these new rules. So I think that Nico's got to somehow put his stamp on the offense and get in there as a receiver a little bit more, make himself more valuable than just a kick returner. So I think that's another one. Those were the first 2 that popped in my head. Third, I think I'll go a little bit off script. I think it's Elijah Mitchell. I think you're the new guy in town. You've shown that you can do good things when you're healthy. But we just talked about that running back room, Mike. If they're only going to take 3 and they really like their shiny new toy with Brashard Smith, I think Elijah Mitchell's the odd man out there. So I think that he's got a lot to prove. I think he's got to get a head start on everybody else.
Yeah. You hit 2 of my 3. Josh Williams was on my list. Elijah Mitchell was on my list. Nico wasn't. I don't really care what Dave Tope does there with that number 6, 7 wide receiver. If they take 6, he might not make the roster, and I'm fine with it. You can't be 20 deep at every position. You just can't do it.
Well, the Chiefs tend to stick with what they know, right? So, I mean, if it comes down to him or Elijah Badger, I'd almost give it to Nico. Like,
they probably would.
You know what I'm saying? They don't take risk like that.
Yeah, I think my third guy, though, where I differ for you is who I want to see step up. And it's kind of easy when you think about it. I want to see Felix. I think it's time for Felix.
Yeah,
Felix has
100%.
to do it.
You know why I didn't think about Felix? Because I forgot about him again for the
you
4th
always do.
time on this episode.
Felix has to get better this year. This is Felix's year. This is year 3. It's time for him to come on. And I think a lot of Chiefs Kingdom's rooting for him. Of course, there's a lot of those right fighters that just said he was a bust. They want him to be a bust now. But, I mean, there's been players that I haven't thought that were very good. I'm not going to root against them.
Yeah, for sure. Well, we appreciate you guys being here. We're going to be here for about 5 more minutes or so. Do us a favor, hit that like button if you haven't done that already. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We got to get to 50K before the season starts. That way we can be where we're supposed to be. Because I thought we were trying to get to 50K by the Super Bowl, and that didn't happen. So now we got to make up for that in the off season here. So hit that subscribe button if you haven't done that, and help your boys out. Also, get in the chat if you have any questions that you want to get in last minute, or you have some position battles you want to talk about. Get in the chat. Also, if you'd like to show us some love, you're more than welcome to do that. Mike, I think if you had to pick one, you only get to pick one position battle. You don't get to pick 3 or 4. Just one. What's the main one that you're going to be looking at when camp kicks off?
Right. I think everything's pretty much set in stone. It's got to be that left side of the offensive line. So left tackle, left guard. And if you give me one of those, I'm more focused on left tackle. Although I do think left tackle's in decent hands no matter which way you go, but it's all about the gelling process.
Yeah, 100%. So I think that, it could go a couple of different ways with the left tackle and left guard, correct? But I think no matter which way it goes and which way that the coaches decide to move forward, I think that people have to be patient for probably the first quarter of the season. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter who they put over there. It's probably going to be rocky for at least 4 games. And they don't start out with a very easy 4 games, guys. You're looking at the Chargers right off the rip.
Don't start out with a very easy 10 games.
Right, but I'm just saying, like the first quarter of the season, I just always put that at 4 games, even though there's a little bit, more than that now. But you start out with the Chargers, who have Khalil Mack. They don't have Bosa anymore, but they have a good edge rusher that I think that will challenge them, correct? So you get that. Week 2, you're going back against the Eagles. So the team that just pounced your ass in the Super Bowl, that's who you're going against. And, they have a new weapon now. They got Jihad Campbell in the draft, so they have more toys to play with. And then week 3, you're playing the New York Giants, which, they're nothing special, but they do have some pass rushers. They got Kayvon Thibodeau. Yeah. So, there's that. And then the Baltimore Ravens in week 4, who always give people fits when it comes to protecting the passer. So, you guys have to be completely prepared to take some lumps weeks 1 through 4, regardless of who they put over there. Whether it's Jalen Moore, Josh Simmons, whether it's Kingsley Sumaia, Mike Caliendo, or Wanye Morris, or whoever.
Ethan Driscoll, the
water
boy,
prepared.
whoever.
Be prepared to take some lumps, and don't give a hard judgment on either of those starters until probably mid-season, to be quite honest. And it sucks to say that because half a season is a long time, but that's just where we're at. That's where we're at. So, Warpaint, been a member for 7 months now, said, let's freaking go. What's the best barbecue in KC? We'll be visiting 1 home game this year, Lord willing. Love you guys. Believe it or not, there's a big group of people that think we shouldn't have an opinion on anything in Kansas City because we don't live there. But apparently that also means you can't visit there and you can't know things about it. It's top secret. It's top secret.
KC's kind of like a second home to us, Steve. We spend a lot of time there to not live there.
Right. So we'll do this 2 ways. So I'm going to act like I'm from Kansas City, right? Go to Gates. You got to go to Gates. Gates is the greatest of all time. Gates is great. It's just Gates. Gates. Okay. All right. Now that we got that out of the way, best barbecue in Kansas City, Mike. It depends on what you want, War Paint. Let me tell you, there's a lot.
Look, I'll give you
a
categories.
lot.
You can have a nice, fancy sit down. You can have a working man's barbecue, and you can have like a,
hidden gem.
Hidden gems.
Can I? Here, I'm going to say this, and I'll see if you agree with me. If you're trying to have a nice, fancy dinner, and you want good barbecue, you're going to go to Jack Stack, right? If you're going to try to make sweet love to your lady that night, you're going to take her to Jack Stack. You're not going to take her to Gates. You take her to Jack Stack. And Jack Stack has some of the best barbecue in Kansas City. If you want something...
I prefer the Freight House.
Yes,
location as
absolutely.
well.
That's the one you want to go to. Also, if you want something a little less uppity, but you want that really good food, you're going to go Q39. It's more of a bar vibe or like a more...
They got one of
modern
the best
take.
items as well. Like that burnt-in burger at Q39 is literally one of the tops.
Right. So those are easy. Those are easy for you. And then if you want a hole in the wall, a hidden gem, you're going to travel off the beaten path a little bit and go to LC's, and you're going to get their pork sandwich. Okay? That's what you're going to do because that's one of the best items in Kansas City, hands down.
That thing was incredible.
So go do that. That's where I'll be. And there's a million more. I saw where Slaps is in trouble. In KCK, apparently they're barely staying open, and I think
Slaps is good.
That's a damn shame because that's some of the best barbecue in the whole city.
Show some love to Slaps.
Yes.
A lot of people don't a lot of people give a bad rap to the one that we do our Chew with the Crew at, Zarda. I think Zarda's not bad for the value.
Yeah, Zarda's good. Arthur Bryant's is good if you want something more, old school. If a lot of the Gates people say Arthur Bryant's as well.
It's hard to go wrong with barbecue in Kansas City.
You
just about throw a dart and then go to the nearest one, and you're probably pretty good.
Yeah, man. So far, I mean,
you didn't even mention Joe's.
Yeah,
Joe's is incredible.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a lot of new kids on the block too. So there's a char bar. People like char bar. You got Chef Jay's. You got Meat Mitch, which we went to Meat Mitch. I'm gonna say it was a little underwhelming for the price, but it was good.
Yeah, Meat Mitch was okay.
Yeah, there's lots of different places you can try out. So
was Meat Mitch the one we went to and
last year?
It was like off. It was like in this weird
last camp, I think.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
It was kind of fancier.
Yeah, they want to be. They want to be fancy.
I was thinking of the one we went to, where Andy went to that time, where we got the ticket.
Pigwitch.
The Pigwitch.
Pigwitch is good.
I got a ticket, dude. Our meal come out to be $80. I had to pay a $120 ticket.
Yeah.
So it was a $200 lunch, bro.
Ty, you got a freaking Whataburger in Topeka? That's not fair. I need one here. Okay, I don't know why. The closest one to us is in Gallatin, Tennessee, which is right outside of Nashville. And if you notice that with Whataburger, they don't tend to put their Whataburgers in the middle of cities. It's always on the outskirts at some smaller place, right? Well, I think Fort Knox area is perfectly outside of Louisville to have a freaking Whataburger. I'm just saying.
I mean, I ain't
if
gonna
anyone
argue
from
that.
Whataburger's like listening,
even Elizabethtown wouldn't be bad right there.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. So, what do you guys think about these camp battles? What's the one that you're all looking for? Put it in the chat. We got a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna get out of here. Everybody talk about food now. I'm hungry too. I haven't eaten today, so I'm gonna be thinking about that as well.
Yeah.
But y'all put it in the chat. What specific battle are you gonna be watching when camp starts? Just one position. Don't cheat and put 3. Just one, because we got to make it tough on you.
That scares me.
Mike, you said yours was that left tackle position. I would agree with that 100%. I think
it might not be the most fun to watch,
but I think it's the one that you're going to keep the biggest eye on. The left tackle, left guard. So offensive line, basically. Let's see. Anger Drunken German says he's going to be looking at cornerbacks because of Noel Williams and Christian Fulton. I like that. There's a lot of good
Does
cornerback
it feel
talent.
like it's going to be Fulton Watson's job on the edges, McDuffie maybe to the nickel, and then backups will be like Noel Williams, Josh Williams? It's kind of where my head's at. I mean, but you can't rule out Nazi.
Sheesh.
because they like him for whatever. So
He's a good special teamer, man. I think if he's going to be on the team, that's great.
maybe you take 6
special
corners.
Yeah, potentially. Let's see here. Somebody said something up here.
Wouldn't surprise me if Josh Williams didn't make the team this year, though, and they just went with Najee over him and just cut him.
Yeah, maybe.
That's why we said Josh Williams got to have a big camp.
Jonathan Steele says Kingsley versus C.J. Hansen versus Caliendo at left guard. Do you think people keep leaving Wanye out of the mix and no one brings up Norzad? Mike, do you think either of those two are in the mix as well?
I think Norzad's like, he's a Swiss Army knife. No, I don't know. I don't think Norzad could beat out Caliendo or Kingsley. I don't see that one. Who's the other one you said?
Wanye?
Oh, Wanye. Man, I don't know. I like Wanye. I think Wanye could do it, but I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I guess you could put Wanye in that mix. Kingsley, Wanye, C.J. Hansen, Caliendo, those 4. And honestly, I think C.J. Hansen's kind of the long shot right there.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. Witchy says safety since Justin Reed is gone. I like that. Peace Fizzle throwing some love out here. Some gas, Mike. He says, Mike and Steve, you guys are the best. Happy Memorial Day. Appreciate that. Yeah, man, it's going to be fun. And sooner than later, it's going to kick off, man. Before you know it, it's going to be full-on camp, and that's going to be exciting. OTAs do start tomorrow. Kevin Capel says Cook is not the answer at safety. We're in a chief concern level at safety position. I think this is a make-or-break year for Cook. You said that it was a make-or-break year for Felix. I think there's a couple of people that fall into that category, and Cook's one of them, so we'll see. It'll be exciting to see what Jaden Hicks can do with more time on the football field, for sure. We got Renee in the house, been a member for 7 months, says Karloftis is the Greek beast. By the way, ACU is the best pod. Appreciate you. Thanks for the gas, Renee.
Appreciate you.
But yeah, guys, happy Memorial Day, by the way. Happy Memorial Day. Just remember, man, all that sacrifice is the reason why we're all allowed to run around freely and have all the ridiculous, stupid opinions on every subject you can possibly think about. And we have the freedom to talk about it and say what we want about it, as much as other people try to infringe on that at times. But just remember that. And yeah, that's what today's all about. So pay your respects, honor the fallen, and appreciate you guys. Hopefully you have some fun with your family today. Hang out, grill a burger, grill a dog, have a beer, and all that good stuff. The American stuff, America. Today's one of those days. So do that. Also, hit the like button on the way out if you haven't already. And keep your eye out for more content. There should be a lot of content coming this week with OTAs kicking off. So we'll see you then. Go Chiefs.
Wow.